60 is not a sunset, it is a threshold. Somewhere along the way, you were persuaded to believe that life narrows after a certain number of birthdays. That ambition belongs to the young. That risk is for those with time left. That reinvention is a privilege reserved for men in their 30s and 40s, and so quietly, many accept a smaller horizon. They say, I have had my turn. They say, now I will settle. They say, it is too late to begin again. But let me ask you something that may disturb your comfort. Who decided that your best years must sit behind you? Was it law? Was it God? Was it some written decree of nature? Or was it repetition? Society whispering the same tired sentence until you mistook it for truth? I have studied men who built fortunes after 50. I have observed leaders who rose to influence when others were preparing to retire. I have seen enterprises launched in what the world calls late years that outlived their founders. Age does not determine power. Decision does. The tragedy is not growing older. The tragedy is growing resigned. Picture this. A man of 60 sits at his desk. His children are grown. His obligations are clearer. His experience is vast. He has endured defeats that once would have crushed him and survived them. He possesses something a younger man does not, perspective. And yet he hesitates. Why? Because he has been told his season has passed. But what if this is the very season in which your accumulated knowledge, your tested endurance, your matured judgment finally combine into their greatest form? You are no longer reckless. You are no longer naive. You are no longer easily distracted. You are seasoned, and seasoning is strength. The world convinces men that youth is power. Youth is energy. But energy without direction is waste. After 60, if you choose wisely, you possess direction refined by decades. Consider what can be accomplished in 5 focused years. 5 years of deliberate purpose. 5 years of organized planning. 5 years of daily autosuggestion declaring, my experience gives me advantage. My best work begins now. That is enough time to build a company, enough time to master a craft, enough time to transform your financial position, enough time to write the book you postponed, enough time to mentor others and multiply your influence. Yet many surrender those 5 years before they begin them. They drift into repetition. They shrink their dreams to match their age. They speak cautiously of what might have been, instead of boldly of what will be. Let me tell you a truth few dare to admit. The mind does not retire unless you instruct it to. If you repeat daily, I am past my prime, your subconscious will obey. Your posture will lower. Your ambition will cool. Your habits will soften. Life will mirror your decree. But if you declare, my greatest contribution is ahead, my wisdom is an asset, my discipline is stronger than ever, the same law begins to operate in your favor. The subconscious mind does not measure birthdays. It measures belief. There is a particular power that awakens when a man realizes he has nothing left to prove and everything left to build. He no longer seeks applause. He seeks impact. He no longer chases approval. He commands respect through certainty. After 60, you can move with a calm authority the young cannot imitate. You have seen trends rise and fall. You have witnessed mistakes and their consequences. You understand patience. You know that temporary defeat is not final. These are not disadvantages. They are weapons, but only if you use them. Let me speak plainly. If you accept decline as inevitable, you will experience it. If you accept renewal as possible, you will pursue it. The dividing line is not age, it is decision. Imagine waking tomorrow and writing a new definite chief aim. Not one borrowed from youth, but one born of maturity. A purpose aligned with who you are now. Clear, measurable, worthy of your remaining years. You read it morning and night. You speak it aloud. You plan around it. You seek allies who believe in growth, not decline. You invest your hours with intention instead of routine. What would change? Your energy would rise, not from youth, but from direction. Your conversations would sharpen. Your days would feel purposeful instead of repetitive. Your family would see in you not resignation, but fire. That example alone is priceless. There are men younger than you who are already tired. They have surrendered internally. They move through life with the spirit of old age long before their hair turns gray. And there are men past 60 who walk with vigor because their minds are alive with purpose. Which will you be? If you ignore this call, the next decade will resemble the last. Comfortable perhaps, predictable certainly, and tinged with quiet regret. But if you begin again today, you compress the illusion that life is closing. You open a new chapter defined not by age, but by aim. The best years of a man's life are not dictated by his birth certificate. They are dictated by the moment he decides to live deliberately. Do not misunderstand me. Beginning again does not mean pretending the past did not happen. It means using it. Every failure becomes instruction. Every success becomes confidence. Every scar becomes testimony that you endured. After 60, you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. And experience, when paired with definiteness and faith, is formidable. So here is the real question. Will you allow the world to define your remaining years, or will you define them yourself? The clock continues regardless. But the direction of the hands, forward into growth or sideways into drift, belongs to you. Your best years are not guaranteed. They are chosen. And if you choose now, if you fix your purpose, strengthen your belief, and act with disciplined persistence, you will discover something extraordinary. The power you thought was fading was waiting to be claimed. Begin again today, not timidly, not nostalgically, but decisively. For the man who commands his mind at 60 can build a legacy at 70 that others only dreamed of at 30. And the moment you accept that truth, your next chapter begins. There is a sentence repeated so often that men begin to accept it without examination. It is spoken casually, sometimes humorously, sometimes with sympathy. At a certain age, one must slow down. Repeated long enough, such a sentence becomes suggestion. Suggestion, accepted without challenge, becomes belief. Belief shapes behavior. Behavior shapes destiny. Thus, many men do not decline because they must. They decline because they have agreed to. The first truth you must grasp is this: there exists no universal law that commands your best work to occur before 60. Nature does not write such decrees. The mind alone does. You have been persuaded, perhaps gently, perhaps persistently, that ambition belongs to youth, that bold plans are the property of the inexperienced, that after a certain number of birthdays, a man's duty is to maintain rather than to build. This is not wisdom, it is repetition mistaken for truth. There is a profound difference between physical change and mental surrender. The body may alter with years, the mind need not. Experience, properly organized, becomes advantage. Experience, neglected, becomes nostalgia. The world calls it retirement, when a man withdraws from active building. But many retire internally long before they leave their occupation. They cease demanding growth. They cease forming new aims. They cease believing that expansion belongs to them. This is internal resignation, and it is more dangerous than physical aging. Consider Colonel Sanders, who began building his enterprise in what the world calls later years. He did not deny his age. He used his seasoning. He carried decades of trial into one concentrated effort. That effort did not diminish because of years lived. It intensified because of them. The difference was decision. You possess something at 60 that you did not possess at 30. Perspective. You have seen cycles. You have endured mistakes. You have witnessed enthusiasm rise and fall. You understand that temporary defeat is not final. That understanding is strength. Youth has energy. Age has judgment. Energy without judgment wastes time. Judgment guided by purpose multiplies effort. How many young men have squandered 10 years chasing every opportunity without focus? How many older men have wasted 10 years believing focus no longer belongs to them? Both are victims of misunderstanding. The truth is this: your accumulated years are capital. They are not weight to be carried reluctantly. They are tools sharpened through use, but tools unused rust. If you repeat daily, "My best years are behind me," your subconscious mind will accept it as command. Your posture will lower. Your voice will soften. Your ambition will cool. You will begin to act in harmony with decline. The subconscious does not measure birthdays. It measures belief. Let this affirmation challenge the lie: "My years have refined me. They have not reduced me." Speak it with firmness. Notice how it feels to reject the idea of expiration. Expiration applies to products, not to purpose. Purpose does not weaken with age unless it is abandoned. Many men at 60 possess fewer distractions than they did at 30. Their children are grown. Their obligations are clearer. Their impulsiveness has softened. They are capable of sustained attention free from youthful restlessness. This is strategic advantage. If 5 years of focused effort can build a business at 40, why could it not build one at 60? If 5 years of disciplined study can establish mastery at 35, why could it not do so at 65? Time does not ask your age before it compounds effort. The tragedy is not growing older. The tragedy is accepting the narrative that growth must end. Observe how others respond when a man of mature years carries clear ambition. They lean closer. They listen differently. They sense authority grounded in experience rather than impulse. Authority born of seasoning is powerful. You no longer need to impress. You need only to build. There is a calm confidence available to you now that was not present in earlier decades. You have nothing to prove socially. You have only to fulfill what remains within you. Fulfillment is not age-bound, it is decision-bound. You must examine honestly whether you have allowed repetition to shape your expectation. Have you begun speaking cautiously of slowing down without necessity? Have you measured possibility against age rather than ability? If so, you have been influenced by suggestion. Suggestion can be reversed. Replace it deliberately. Say again, my years have refined me. They have not reduced me. Let those words settle deeply. Within you lies organized knowledge gathered across decades. Knowledge of mistakes, knowledge of markets, knowledge of relationships, knowledge of self. When combined with a definite chief aim, that knowledge becomes formidable. 5 focused years beginning at 60 can surpass 15 scattered years before it. Why? Because you now understand cost. You now understand consequence. You now understand the price of drift. Drift is expensive, and you have paid for that lesson already. There is no need to pay again. The best years of a man's life are not dictated by youthfulness of body, but by clarity of aim. A clear aim at 60 possesses more force than a vague desire at 25. Clarity directs energy. Energy directed multiplies result. If you reject the lie of expiration today, you immediately recover lost ground. You reclaim authority over the narrative of your own life. Others may still speak of decline. Let them. You will speak of direction. And direction, when declared firmly and acted upon daily, begins to awaken vigor where resignation once lived. This alone can save 10 years. 10 years that would otherwise pass in quiet maintenance. 10 years that could instead build legacy. You are not at sunset unless you decide you are. You stand at threshold, and the threshold does not close unless you walk away from it. Once you have rejected the lie of expiration, you cannot remain in neutral. The mind, once awakened, demands direction. If you do not supply it with a definite aim, it will drift toward familiar routine. This is where many men after 60 make a subtle error. They reject decline in principle, yet they fail to replace it with purpose in writing. Hope is not a plan. Reflection is not direction. If your best years are to begin now, they must begin with a new, definite chief aim, suited not to youth, but to mastery. You are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience. The aim you write now should not be borrowed from who you were at 30. It should arise from who you are at 60. The ambitions of youth often sought proof. The ambitions of maturity seek impact. Impact is stronger than ego. Ask yourself quietly, given what I now know, what contribution can I make in the next 5 to 10 years that reflects my full capacity? Do not rush this question. Let decades of learning answer it. Perhaps it is financial, securing independence strong enough to relieve burden from your family. Perhaps it is enterprise, launching or expanding an endeavor long postponed. Perhaps it is authorship, mentorship, or leadership within a field you understand deeply. Whatever it is, write it. Not vaguely, not emotionally, specifically. I will achieve success by work, and in return, I will render what? Fix the date, name the service. Clarity removes illusion. When you write your new aim, something powerful occurs. You cease thinking of the remaining years as leftover time. You begin to see them as concentrated opportunity. 5 focused years after 60 can accomplish more than 15 distracted years before it. Why? Because you no longer chase distraction. You understand cost. You recognize wasted motion quickly. Let this affirmation guide your writing. My greatest contribution begins now. My experience gives me advantage. Speak it as you write. Edwin C. Barnes fixed his aim before possessing position. You now fix yours before possessing the result. The principle is the same. Decision precedes evidence. You may feel resistance. A voice may whisper, "Is this realistic?" Examine that voice carefully. Is it wisdom or repetition of the old narrative? Realism without courage becomes resignation. Courage without planning becomes recklessness. Your task is to unite courage with organized planning. Once the aim is written, read it morning and night. Let your subconscious accept it as inevitable. The subconscious mind does not ask your age. It asks only whether you believe. Belief strengthens energy. Energy sustains effort. Effort produces result. You must also name what you will give in return. There is no something for nothing. If you demand influence, you must render service. If you demand prosperity, you must provide value. If you demand recognition, you must demonstrate mastery. After 60, your service can be refined. You are no longer experimenting blindly. You can specialize. You can narrow your focus. Narrow focus magnifies force. The world does not reward scattered wisdom. It rewards directed application. Others will begin to notice when you speak of a new, definite aim. Some may be surprised. Some may doubt quietly. Some may admire openly. Their reaction is secondary. Your conviction is primary. When a man of 60 declares a new purpose with calm certainty, it carries weight. It does not sound impulsive. It sounds deliberate. Deliberation commands respect. Respect opens doors. Within weeks of writing and reading your aim daily, you will feel renewed alertness. Conversations will shift. You will listen differently. You will seek knowledge aligned with your aim. You will measure time more carefully. Time becomes asset again, and not something to endure, something to invest. This alone can reclaim 20 years of passive routine. Many men allow the decade after 60 to pass in maintenance mode. They maintain income, maintain habits, maintain conversation, but maintenance rarely multiplies. Multiplication requires aim. Write your aim clearly enough that it can guide daily action. Break it into yearly and monthly milestones. Assign hours to its advancement. Organize knowledge around it. You are not beginning late. You are beginning prepared. Say again, my greatest contribution begins now. Let that sentence override every narrative of decline. The best years can begin after 60, not by wish, but by writing. Not by nostalgia, but by definiteness. You have seen enough of life to know that drift wastes decades. Do not drift now. Fix your aim. Read it daily and guard it from ridicule. Strengthen it with service. And let this new, definite chief aim mark the true beginning of your strongest chapter. After a man writes a new, definite chief aim at 60, something subtle begins to awaken. Not in his muscles first, but in his mind. For energy does not originate solely in the body. It originates in direction. Many who speak of fatigue after 60 are not exhausted by years. They are exhausted by repetition without purpose. Routine drains more strength than labor aligned with aim. You may recall seasons in your earlier life when you labored long hours yet felt little weariness because you were building towards something definite. Contrast that with periods when even small tasks felt heavy because they lacked meaning. The difference was not age, it was direction. The world teaches that vitality belongs to youth. Youth indeed carries raw energy. But raw energy, unguided, is often wasted. After 60, you may not possess the same physical intensity as at 25, but you possess something greater. Concentration without illusion. Concentration multiplies available strength. When you fix your aim clearly and rehearse it morning and night, the subconscious mind begins to cooperate. It filters thought. It removes distractions. It directs attention toward opportunity. Attention saves energy. Scattered attention drains it. If you rise each morning declaring decline, I am slowing down. My best days are past. Your subconscious accepts it as command. Your posture lowers. Your movements become hesitant. Your ambition cools. The mind obeys repeated suggestion. Replace it deliberately. Say each morning, my mind grows sharper, my work grows greater, my experience strengthens my effort. Speak it aloud. The subconscious mind does not measure birthdays. It measures belief and repetition. You may find that energy returns not in bursts, but in steadiness. A calm endurance replaces restless excitement. You are less tempted by trivial pursuits. You are less distracted by every passing trend. This conservation of force is advantage. After 60, you need not chase every possibility. You may choose only those aligned with your chief aim. That selectivity preserves strength. Henry Ford did not pursue every innovation at once. He focused upon one clear objective. Focus built momentum. Momentum built endurance. Endurance is more powerful than youthful excitement. Guard your mind from decline language. If friends speak constantly of ailments and slowing down, listen with compassion, but do not adopt their vocabulary. Words repeated become identity. Instead, speak of contribution. Speak of projects. Speak of plans. Others will notice the differences. They will remark that you seem invigorated. They will observe that you carry purpose rather than resignation. They will treat you as active builder rather than retired observer. Expectation changes behavior. When you expect yourself to contribute, you act accordingly. Eliminate trivial engagements that once filled idle time. Replace them with study aligned with your aim. Organized knowledge strengthens confidence. Confidence strengthens initiative. Initiative attracts opportunity. This cycle restores vigor. Let this affirmation anchor your days. My experience gives me advantage. I focus my strength where it multiplies. Speak it when doubt arises. You may encounter moments when physical fatigue reminds you of years lived. Accept the reminder without surrendering your aim. Adjust your pace if necessary, but do not adjust your purpose. Purpose is not age-bound. Purpose is chosen. Within months of living with renewed direction, you will find that mornings feel different. You will rise with intention. You will measure the day against your aim rather than against habit. Habit without aim dulls the spirit. Habit aligned with aim sharpens it. Energy flows where attention rests. If attention rests on decline, decline feels heavier. If attention rests on contribution, strength aligns with it. They studied, they planned, they mentored, they built. Their calm presence carried weight that youth could not imitate. You now possess that same potential. The best years can begin after 60 when energy is reclaimed through direction. Not frantic energy, but disciplined vigor. Not scattered enthusiasm, but steady concentration. 5 years of focused effort after 60 can surpass 15 years of distracted labor before it. Why? Because focus preserves energy. Energy preserved multiplies result. You are not required to compete with youth in speed. You are called to surpass it in clarity. Clarity requires aim. Aim requires repetition. Repetition builds belief. Belief strengthens energy. Say again, my mind grows sharper. My work grows greater. Let those words shape your internal climate. For when the mind is alive with purpose, the body often follows with surprising resilience. You are not beginning again as a novice. You are beginning as master of your accumulated lessons. And mastery, when guided by definite purpose, restores vigor that resignation once concealed, reverses, but because direction is renewed. Renew direction. Energy will answer. When a man passes 60 and fixes a new definite chief aim, he must also elevate the motive behind it. In youth, ambition often seeks advancement. In maturity, ambition may seek something greater, legacy. Maintenance is the habit of those who believe their building season has passed. Legacy is the mission of those who understand that their experience is capital meant to be invested, not stored. There is a profound shift that can occur after 60. You no longer need to prove yourself to the world. You need only to use what you have learned. This shift from proving to contributing releases tremendous power. A younger man may chase recognition. A seasoned man can pursue impact. Recognition fades. Impact multiplies. Ask yourself, what knowledge have I gained through decades of error, correction, and persistence that others could use? That knowledge, organized and expressed, becomes legacy. You may build an enterprise rooted in your expertise. You may mentor younger men who lack your perspective. You may write, teach, advise, or invest in ways that multiply your influence beyond your physical presence. And this is not retirement, it is redirection. Carnegie understood that wealth without distribution of knowledge was incomplete. He invested in libraries and education, multiplying his influence beyond business. You too possess experiences that, when organized, become instruction for others. Organized knowledge is power. Unshared experience is wasted treasure. The mastermind principle becomes even more valuable after 60. Surround yourself with minds that value growth rather than decline. Exchange ideas, refine plans, combine wisdom with fresh energy. Association multiplies strength. You may find that mentoring others renews your own vigor. Teaching clarifies thought. Advising sharpens judgment. Watching others grow under your guidance reinforces your own confidence. Legacy is not accidental, and it is constructed deliberately. Financial consolidation is also part of legacy. After 60, discipline and planning becomes critical. Protect assets, invest wisely, align financial decisions with your written aim. Wealth accumulated without direction dissipates. Wealth guided by purpose multiplies. Let this affirmation strengthen your resolve. My experience multiplies through others. My work extends beyond myself. Speak it as you organize your next chapter. Others will begin to see you differently, not as one withdrawing, but as one guiding, not as one fading, but as one anchoring. Families respond powerfully to example. When children see a father or grandfather living with renewed purpose after 60, it reshapes their expectation of age. They no longer associate maturity with surrender. They associate it with strength. That example alone is invaluable. You may also find that your failures become more valuable than your successes. Failures contain lessons distilled by pain. When shared honestly, they save others years of error. Years saved are impact multiplied. Many men waste the decade after 60 maintaining routine. Routine feels safe. But safety without growth breeds stagnation. Stagnation invites regret. You were not granted experience merely to repeat habit. You were granted experience to refine contribution. If you live the next 10 years building legacy rather than maintaining routine, you compress decades into influence. 5 deliberate years of contribution can outlast 20 passive years of comfort. No mark. Contribution leaves imprint. This is how the best years can begin after 60. Not because you return to youthful ambition, but because you elevate ambition to purpose. Purpose sustains longer than ego. Purpose attracts cooperation. Purpose strengthens endurance. When you speak of plans for impact rather than retreat, others listen with respect. They sense that you are not finished. You are focused. Focus commands dignity. Dignity attracts trust. Trust opens opportunity. You may write the book long postponed. You may formalize the business you once operated informally. You may create structures that endure beyond your physical labor. Each of these is legacy. Say again, my experience multiplies through others. Let that sentence guide your next decisions. The world does not need more men retreating into quiet repetition after 60. It needs seasoned minds applying their lessons boldly. You are not starting over. You are starting from depth. Depth, when aligned with definite purpose, becomes foundation for influence. Build upon it. For when you choose legacy over routine, your remaining years expand in meaning rather than contract in motion. And meaning is the true measure of strength. If you have rejected the lie of expiration, written a new definite chief aim, reclaimed energy through direction, and chosen legacy over routine, there remains one final understanding that will determine whether your best years truly begin after 60. Time must be concentrated. Most men after 60 think in terms of remaining years. The wise man thinks in terms of focused seasons. 5 deliberate years properly organized can outweigh the previous 20 lived without definite purpose. Why? Because concentration multiplies force. You have already paid the tuition of experience. You have endured mistakes, learned patience, observed patterns. If you now apply that organized knowledge toward one clear aim for 5 consecutive years, the result will not resemble slow aging. It will resemble renewal. Divide the next 5 years into stages. The first year clarifies and stabilizes your aim. You study. You refine. You organize. You eliminate what does not serve your direction. The second year intensifies effort. You build alliances. You increase service. You measure progress honestly. The third year compounds results. Momentum appears. Confidence strengthens. Others begin to recognize your renewed seriousness. The fourth year multiplies influence. Your work extends beyond personal gain. Your example inspires. The fifth year consolidates legacy. Systems are in place. Knowledge is documented. Impact is visible. 5 years, not scattered, not passive, deliberate. This structure prevents drift. Drift is what steals decades. You must measure progress quarterly. Review your written aim. Adjust plans without adjusting purpose. Organized planning is not youthful behavior. It is disciplined behavior. Surround yourself with those who believe growth continues. The mastermind principle does not weaken with age. It strengthens. Combine your experience with the vigor of others and watch what occurs. Guard your health not as limitation but as asset. Strengthen what can be strengthened. Protect what must be protected. A sound body supports a directed mind. Avoid comparison with youth. You are not competing in speed. You are competing in clarity. Clarity wins more consistently than haste. Temporary defeat may appear, as it does in every season of building. Do not dramatize it. You have already endured setbacks in earlier decades. Treat them now as instruction rather than verdict. Let this affirmation anchor your 5-year march. My best years are chosen, not assigned. I concentrate my experience into deliberate action. Speak it when doubt suggests otherwise. Consider what can be accomplished between 60 and 65 if each day contains defined progress. Income can shift dramatically. Influence can expand. A book can be written. A business can be stabilized or launched. A mentorship can shape future leaders. 5 focused years can rebuild wealth lost in earlier decades. 5 focused years can restore confidence weakened by previous defeat. 5 focused years can alter how your family remembers you. 5 focused years can save 10, 20, even 30 years of slow decline. The illusion of decline is powerful only when unchallenged. Challenge it with structure. When others see a man after 60 planning 5 years ahead, they respond differently. They sense strength. They sense intention. They sense that he is not surrendered to calendar. This perception opens doors. Doors open to those who appear active, not retiring. At 70, you may look back and see that 60 was not an ending, but a beginning. You may realize that the years you once feared were in fact the most disciplined, the most purposeful, the most productive. Why? Because you concentrated them. You were no longer distracted by youthful comparison. You were no longer driven by ego. You were driven by contribution and clarity. Clarity shortens distance. Distance shortened saves time. Time saved builds legacy. Say again, my best years are chosen, not assigned. Let that sentence close the argument within you. The world may measure your age. You will measure your aim. The clock continues regardless, but the direction of its movement in your life depends upon the purpose you fix within it. After 60, you are not fading. You are focused. And 5 deliberate years lived with definiteness, faith, organized planning, and persistence can become the strongest chapter of all. The best years can start after 60, not by accident, by decision. There is a quiet decision that separates the man who fades from the man who flourishes after 60. It is not written in the calendar. It is not announced to the world. It is made privately, in thought. It is the decision to refuse disappearance. Many men do not collapse after 60. They simply soften. Their opinions become cautious. Their ambitions shrink. Their schedules empty gradually. They call it rest. They call it maturity. But beneath the surface lies something else. Surrender disguised as acceptance. You have now seen that surrender is optional. The world may prepare you for decline, but it cannot enforce it without your agreement. Agreement is always internal first. If you repeat daily, I have done enough, your subconscious will comply. If you declare, my most valuable contribution begins now, that same subconscious will mobilize your experience in service of that belief. The mind does not retire unless instructed to do so. You possess decades of organized knowledge. You have endured defeats that once felt unbearable, and you survived. You have seen cycles rise and fall. You understand that trends change, that opportunity returns, that patience is strength. These are not relics. They are weapons. But weapons unused gather dust. The next 10 years will pass regardless of what you decide. The question is not whether time will move. It is whether you will move with it deliberately. If you drift, those 10 years will resemble maintenance. Routine will fill the space where purpose once lived. Conversations will grow repetitive. Ambition will be replaced by commentary. If you decide those 10 years can exceed the previous 20, you can build, write, mentor, invest, influence. You can concentrate your experience into projects that outlive you. The difference is not age, it is aim. 5 focused years beginning at 60 can transform finances, restore vigor, and create legacy. Another 5 can stabilize and multiply that foundation. A decade lived deliberately can save 30 years of slow erosion. Do not underestimate the example you set. When a man of 60 rises with clear purpose, younger generations observe carefully. They see that strength does not belong only to youth. They learn that growth is lifelong. They are given permission to refuse resignation when their own later years arrive. Your decision becomes their instruction. That alone is reason enough to act. There will be moments ahead when old narratives attempt to return, when you hear others speak of slowing down as though it were duty, when fatigue tempts you to reduce your aim. In those moments, remember what you have already learned. Decline is suggestion. Growth is decision. Speak this to yourself often. My best years are chosen. My experience is capital. My purpose remains. Let those words silence resignation. You are not beginning at 60 as an untested novice. You are beginning as a seasoned builder. You have fewer illusions and clearer judgment. You understand cost. You understand the value of time. Time now must be treated as treasure. Organize it, invest it, guard it, measure it against your written aim. Do not allow another decade to slip into routine without examination. 10 years pass swiftly when not directed. They pass powerfully when commanded. Imagine yourself at 70 reflecting upon the decade that began at 60. Will you say, those were the years I maintained? Or will you say, those were the years I built my strongest chapter? The clock does not threaten you. Indecision does. You have already dismantled the lie of expiration. You have written a new purpose. You have reclaimed energy through direction. You have chosen legacy over maintenance. You have structured 5 deliberate years. Now live them. Rise tomorrow not nostalgically, but decisively. Do not look backward except to harvest instruction. Look forward with the calm certainty of one who understands law. The law is simple. Definiteness, backed by belief and sustained by action, produces result at any age. 60 is not a sunset. It is a vantage point. From that vantage point, you can see farther than you once could. You can plan with greater wisdom. You can move with fewer distractions. You can build with steadier hands. Do not vanish quietly into comfort. Stand firmly in contribution. Let the decade ahead be known, not for decline, but for decision. And when others ask how your best years began after 60, you will answer simply, I chose them.